All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Viaka Podcast, where we bring you conversations with inspiring founders, investors, and builders who have ties to the MENA region. Before we dive in, a quick word about Viaka. So, through our angel network of over 80 active investors, we've backed over 10 companies since launching in March of 2025. We've democratized early stage investing with checks as low as $1,000, making it really accessible for anybody to invest in world class talent. If you're interested in joining us, please visit viaka.net or email hello@viaka.net. So today's guest is Najeeb Jarrar, Regional Product and Marketing Director for the Middle East and Africa at Google, where he leads product strategy and marketing across Search, Maps, YouTube, and Gemini. He spent over 15 years building Google's presence in the region, growing MENA's internet users from just a handful of million to over 200 million. He's also a trusted advisor to numerous MENA startups and VC funds. Najeeb, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Ramsey, for having me here in this broadcast.
It's a pleasure. Before maybe we get started, maybe since you've used Google, you use Google quite often. What was the last thing you Googled? Maybe not related to work.
Well, I can actually tell you, like, what am I trying to remember when I can, like, just click Google history and I can tell you exactly what I actually last did at Google. I don't think it's going to be anything that is exciting. I was trying to troubleshoot basically an access issue for like my personal machine, and that was the last thing that I did as well.
Okay, and
I tried to run really vintage type of hardware in my free time.
okay,
You're talking about basically operating systems that are from the early 90s, late 80s as well. So they are not the friendliest to someone who's used to like just click and it actually runs.
do you have this like installed for fun, or you like what's the idea behind it?
Um, I think it's like, so I grew up using those vintage machines, right? Like, so you're talking about like soccer machines that were very famous
Mhm.
during the Middle East. I have a couple of those that I've been actually maintaining for the last like 20 years or so.
Okay.
And then a couple of others as well. And I keep running them as a way of one. It's so interesting to think about. This is a hardware that is 30 years old and still runs, and it still runs that it actually have. And then two, um, it helps me also stay humble because, like, for example, one of the machines that I have has 256 kilobytes of memory, and that was a lot, right? Today, you open up a browser to load your calendar, it's 400 megabytes of RAM, So, like, it keeps you humble of a resource is only a constraint as much as you wanted it to be a constraint. That machine has games in it and drawing and files and whatever you want to think about as well.
And out of curiosity, what are you running on the machine exactly?
Oh, nothing super fancy. Just basically recovering files that were created 20 years ago and showing people what we used to do in like 92, 93 computer. Yeah.
Okay, so
Like,
it's like,
don't think
is
about
it?
it as like I'm hacking like the Pentagon or anything like that. No,
Yeah, yeah.
genuinely
I
like
don't think I
basic.
don't think it's a utility thing.
No. It's a basic, basically programs run like I used to write back in basic.
It's like you have your own garage and you're trying to maintain like a car or a motorcycle, but
I
it
think
doesn't.
it's a
You don't
nerdy
actually.
version of a garage. Yes, totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I'm a bit curious about how you got started at Google. You started first working at Microsoft. I'm a bit curious to know, how did you get started at Microsoft and then move to Google? What was the train of thought there? And you've been at Google for, over 15 years now.
I've been at Google for 18 years, so it's a lot of
18
time
years.
in Google. So I've had a lot of passion towards technology growing up in general as well, but also growing up in Jordan, you don't get a good realization around your ability to work in multinational. right? Like the universe is very, very small. You don't see a lot of examples of working with multinationals as well. So that has not been something that I aspire to be. It was something that is like very far-fetched for you to be in. That changed when one day in my high school, a colleague who graduated from the same high school 8 years ago visited, and he introduced himself that he worked at Microsoft as well, and he was working with Microsoft in Seattle and Redmond, and all of a sudden it switched in my mind. Like, this is attainable. This is actually possible. You can go to the places where that technology is actually being invented and coming in. So I reached out to that classmate, and he was very generous with his knowledge. What should I focus on in my study? What should I actually learn? And helped me start with my first steps as well. In university, I joined the Microsoft Student Ambassador Program, and that got me a little bit more into this work that later on led to my first role there in technology, basically.
And how did you go from Microsoft to Google? Microsoft, you stayed for maybe a year or so, and then Google, you stuck.
Yeah.
What was the difference?
So I think so I will. Microsoft was such a fun company to actually work with, much more organized, extremely much more well established. Back in the day, 2008, Google was 4 years after the IPO, very smaller sets of products. It's not what Google is today as well. Google reached out and they had an interesting pitch. They basically said, "Hey, we're creating an Arabic engineering team. Do you want to come and see what we're thinking and what we're building?" And that automatically spoke to something that I'm always passionate about, and bringing more technology to where people who look like me and speak like me as well. So that was the initial pitch, and that's how I moved from Microsoft to Google. It was honestly much easier than I expected. I think there are some pain points around moving from Microsoft, which was a much more established company, and established, I mean, the rules, the regulations, even about how do you write your own code, how do you ship things, which might sometimes be painful about how slow things can actually go. To Google, where it was much more, while it was an IPO company, much more faster, much more open, code is shared across, people are able to see each other as well. And guess what? They had free food. So don't underestimate the value of free food as well. It was part of the perks. Microsoft had a different philosophy towards Google. You have some sort of stipend and bill per month, and you can add money to that to go to any of the cafe and use that as to buy. And they have a serious point about it because they don't want to encourage waste. They say if it's all free, people will just pile in food and will go thrown away. If people are contributing towards the cost of the food that comes in, so. But trying to explain that to a 20-year-old person that tells them free food and not free food, I think that doesn't work. The no waste argument does not really work.
Free food, bean bags, lots of bean bags. I think at the time, Google was we saw the photos of all their offices.
I think it's more about so while the free food was something into it, it was more about the process of fast shipping, your ability to ship and see what you're doing really, really fast, open culture, and faster decision making, right? And when I was leaving, I was talking to my mentor around this, and she's like, listen, all companies start with this promise. Once they become larger and more mature, those rules are there for a reason as well. So what you are complaining about from a culture in Microsoft, it's not like Google found the magical solution. It's just the fact that they were much smaller, much younger, much earlier in their stage to have as well.
Was this so you were in Jordan, and I think you moved, where did you move to Google?
So Jordan, Seattle, and then to Microsoft, and then from Seattle to Zurich with Google, and then later from Zurich to Dubai.
Okay. And when did you join the Dubai office?
I joined the Dubai office August 2009.
Okay. And how many people were there?
So I was the fourth employee or the fifth employee in the Dubai office. The Dubai office was super small. It's a much
Okay.
more was a nucleus office was just established like a few months before that as well. There was no kitchen. We just had a microwave. The idea of like having free food was get the menus every day, select what you want to eat, call the restaurant on the phone, and like get the food that you actually wanted. That was the idea for from that. But it was like still the first Google office that we've had with I was 4 or 5 back then.
Yeah. And how many people are at Google today at the office?
In the hundreds, we have like multiplied significantly in the like multiple hundreds that are existing in the Dubai office. And more importantly, we have offices across the entire Middle East. So we have offices in Dubai, we have offices in Riyadh, we have offices in Kuwait, we have offices in Doha. So it's
Okay.
no longer just a smaller hub in with 4 employees in Dubai. We have hundreds of employees across the entire region, and as well as hundreds others that are serving the regions that are not based here in Dubai as well.
Of
Right? We
course.
have a very large population that are focused on the region that are based in offices in EMEA, so in Dublin, in Zurich, in London, and as well as within our bases of engineering that are in EMEA or in the US.
Okay. And in the hiring process, how involved are you in the hiring process of talent that are working at Google, let's say in your office or in the regional offices, others?
Um, so I'm really involved. The hiring culture in Google forces. So you have your functional interviews. So when you're applying to Google, you do interviews around like with your hiring manager, with people who are doing similar roles that you're expected to do. But you also will have an interview with someone who is cross-functional. So to also test like your cross-functional work skills and your ability to work in an environment where it much more encourage collaboration than silos and competition. And so for that, I'm involved with hiring when it comes to my community and my role, my function, and as well as other functions within the larger MENA region.
Okay. And is this marketing or other functions as well?
Other functions as well. So I helped in interviews across marketing, across engineering, across sales, and across legal, and multiple partnerships and others as well.
I'm a bit curious on, the different functions or the different functions that you guys have today at Google. Obviously, Google is a massive company today. There's so many things that you do beyond advertising. You know, I was going to say for the people that don't know Google, but that's not what I meant. Can you just maybe walk us through of what Google does today in terms of products, services, just so we can kind of get familiar?
Um, so Google is at its essence, it tries to figure out ways where we can help users in every way with their daily life, right? So if we figured out there is a way where we could be beneficial to a user pain point utilizing technology, it's an area we go into. And search was the initial area that we went to start with. Today, we're celebrating 25 years of Google search images anniversary. So like we saw people want to search by images, so we invented that, and that evolved during the actual year. News, we acquired YouTube, Android, and then multiple on across multiple across the last 28 years. But if you want to think about Google, Google is designed as product areas, right? So if you look at people that are under the CEO, you have the GMs of the product areas, so the head of search, the head of ads, the head of Android, the head of cloud, the head of YouTube, etc. And under each one of those product areas, what we call them, you had your corpus of engineers, product managers, and then partnership, sales, marketing, legal, HR, and like all of the support functions that you actually have to start with. And this is how Google is designed as a situation, which is a much more mature design towards what the early days of Google used to be, as it pushes more people to be more focused toward what the product area that they're working on and focus at innovating at that specific product area.
Okay. And when you look at different markets, so let's say the MENA market and the US, what is comprised of maybe the revenue streams? Is it search is number one? Is it more services? What are the differences?
So you can see that clearly when you look at like the Google basically quarterly revenue breakdown, right? Like search is still bringing in a big chunk of the revenue, but our cloud revenue is growing really, really fast as well. And that's also contributing to the larger Google revenue. And then you have the hardware, Google Play, Google services revenue as an overall is also growing from that end. So if you, depending on the country, that mix is different, right? So a country where it's much more mature from a cloud point of view would see a more contribution from a cloud perspective. A country that is more on the play spend, or they have Google Pixel lashed in, so hardware is available, we will see that as a contributor compared to the others as well. But largely, any country is a mix of those three.
Okay. And what would you say, maybe just what are different countries, let's say UAE or Saudi or Egypt, or, what is maybe the number one revenue stream from each, or depending on what they do, for
So
example?
similarly to a global search, and I mean Google Ads in general is still the number one revenue that is driving
Okay.
Google, and that's still true in the Middle East as well.
Mhm.
Cloud is growing really, really fast, and you can see that as what the investment that Google is doing for cloud across the multiple countries that we have. We have data centers in multiple countries in the region, from Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi. We have also cloud engineers and support teams and across all of those type of countries to help in the big push toward digitization and moving services towards cloud that we're seeing across government or private sectors in the GCC specifically. And that is helping bring in more of the revenue coming in through the cloud products.
And when it comes to regulation, how are different governments or regulations different from one another? When you're working with, let's say, you mentioned Kuwait, and then you mentioned Saudi, then you mentioned, other countries. How does that work together, or how does that influence the direction?
So I think each country has its own nuances when it comes to the regulation, but there are some common themes, right? So one of the common themes is most of the countries in our part of the world is much more leaning forward, right? So they're welcoming
Mhm.
innovation. They're much more open to AI. Think about the UAE government has an AI minister since 2017. They're
Mhm.
pushing toward that innovation responsibly. They're less reserved compared to what we see, let's say, in Europe or in the US. And that is enabling much more pace of increase of innovation and increase in adaptation to those actual new technologies. Of course, there are that are nuances between what's happening in Kuwait to Saudi, but I don't have the actual details to be able to share with this as well.
Makes sense. And when it comes to, AI and LLMs, how does Gemini compare to other products on the market, or what's the goal behind Gemini? What's the goal in the long run, let's say?
I think when you are thinking about uh, like Gemini as an overall, you want to take a step and think about like what is Google's approach towards AI, right? And
Mhm.
when you think about that, then imagine with me a pyramid, right? And the base of this pyramid is infrastructure. And Google has invested heavily in the last 20 years when it comes to infrastructure. And that infrastructure is building the right data centers. And we've been investing heavily in that, significantly in that from the start. And then two, developing our own silicon, right? So TPUs, which is what like the processing unit that Google has invented to be able to process AI is not something that came up this year. We are at version 6 from this. We've been working on this for the last 8 years of innovating to start this as well. So it's not born out of this moment that's coming towards AI. This is something that we've been working on early start on. So that's the base of that pyramid infrastructure is something that is Google has really invested well, both on the building that infrastructure and designing and manufacturing our own as well. The second layer of that pyramid comes in from models, right? And the models that we needed to do for AI needs like real science, real research, and real investment. And Google had two of the biggest teams that are working on this, whether that was in DeepMind or Google Brain, that are now under one umbrella called Google DeepMind. And that is the research that keep developing all of those models. And we hear about Gemini, but there's also a lot of models that we do, like AlphaFold, that is helping with like protein folding, that won the Nobel Prize last year. We have different types of those applications, and that's where we're continually innovating as well. And then on top of that final layer of that pyramid is the application. Okay, so you have the infrastructure, you're able to serve millions of users on your own TPUs. You've built world-class models that are able to understand different types of things. What is the applications? How are you using that AI? And that comes in almost every single Google product. So you use Google Maps, you want to go from point A to point B, routing you through the different streets and the different combinations. Is AI is actually making that in real time. Opening Google Photos that groups all of the pictures of Ramsey together, or when you search on Google Photos, I want Ramsey wearing pink. Like that is also AI in that combinations as well.
Not gonna find any photos.
Yeah, there's no Ramsey in pink.
No, there's not of the pink. Maybe in the
I
future,
think
but
when you can try that today, you can go to Gemini, upload your pictures, and say like, "Hey, make me wear pink." You can actually do that. All of the generative AI usage that you are able to see across Gemini as an app, Flow and VO, and all of those like image and video production services, and that is also part of the model, part of the applications that we have. So I feel Google is well poised towards like the AI era as we have all of that pyramid comes in. And that's what makes it attractive also from not only as a consumer company, but also from an enterprise company. If you are an enterprise and you want to move more of your workflow towards AI, Google is able to serve you across that entire pyramid, which very few companies have that infrastructure to do so. Like some of them will have the infrastructure, will have the application, but they don't have the models. Some of them have the models, don't have the infrastructure, and they don't have the application. So Google is able to help you be vertically integrated across.
okay. And so for Gemini as a product, is it fair to say that Gemini as an AI is integrated into a lot of different apps, a lot of Google apps?
So Gemini is today, so Gemini is a model at the end of the day, right?
Mhm.
You can see that model and you can utilize it in Gemini as the app, where you can chat with them directly. You can interact with that model when you search on Google search, right? Now we introduce services like Google AI Overview or AI Mode, which is when you're searching and we can give you that summary on the top. That is also part of Gemini when you're doing that. You can use that on Google Slides or Google Doc when you tell them like, help me write the letter or design the slides for me. That's also Gemini is in the back that is utilizing this as well. So there's multiple ways you can interact with it. Like for the average consumer, the Gemini app is the best place where you can like have all of your LLM basically and AI usage comes in.
And how is Gemini today adapted to Arab speakers or Arabic language in general?
We're very excited about the potential of what Gemini can bring into the region, and we're very happy about the reaction from the users. Like I think a few months ago, the UAE government have tested a bunch of commercial available AI, and they found out that Gemini has the best understanding for the local culture and the language. Right? It's something that we take this claim and we ensure that we keep iterating with it. Like we continuously are trying to identify areas where Gemini is able to understand the different dialects in the region, the different cultural nuances in the region as well, and is able to respond with that understanding to start with. So it not only in typing, but also in voice, in images, whether it is as input or as generated to start. Yeah, and we're very
Yeah.
happy with like the millions of users across the region that continuously using Gemini as their main tool every single day.
I remember we used to say just Google it. Today, I think when we write something in Google, again, the answer is just there, which is great. Um, oh.
Uh, uh, I think like it's an interesting model because like I think when you think about it, search is not slowing down, which is something that we've shared in the last earning call for Google. We're actually seeing the highest search ever today recorded as even with more AI usage coming in. The game between Argentina and Egypt last week was the highest point in search ever, right, during that day. So even with a lot of AI usage, the excitement for search is not slowing down, right? And that's mainly because like you're using AI and search in two different ways. You're using search for when you want more factual information, when you want discovery type of information. You're using AI when it's more about the creative point of view, where you don't have a good understanding what's the problem that you're trying to solve or what do you want to actually coming into it. So we think more users are like organizing their needs toward like different tools where they're actually coming from.
When people today they search on Google, because of the AI, it gives them an answer very quickly. How does that affect, the model of how Google makes money?
We don't like so it's something that we continuously are optimizing for, right? I think it depends on the type of the question. Think about it this way: if you are going to Google and you're searching weather in Dubai, right?
Mhm.
I can show you a bunch of links of websites that shows you weather in Dubai. But the easiest thing is I can show you like here is the weather forecast and some um, information about it with part with some of the sources as well. So it's not information that Google got some from anywhere else. We partner with those sources. We got it. We showcase it well towards this because we understand some queries the users intend beyond this query. It's just a very quick information that they want and they want to get out of this as well. There are some queries that the users is much more intentional. We show different experiences. Like think about if you are trying to find a specific pink T-shirt for this example, right? A quick summary is not very helpful, right? We want to be able to show you like
Of
here
course.
are the website or here are the merchants that are able to serve that thing for you. Another is about news. Like if you're searching about a specific news, a summary might not be the right place for you, but like we can give you that news that the sources and the places that have those information that you might actually need. So don't think about it as like Google 100% is answering all queries with like an AI generated summary. It's actually depending on the type of the query that you're asking, and then us selecting what is the best path to do so. And even with that, we're giving you the sources that you're able to dive deeper to go to the publishers and the partners website that are providing this data.
Very interesting. And outside products, let's say, is there an investing arm to Google in the region that invest in local startups?
So we last year, or actually earlier this year, think last year, sorry, last year. Last year, we've signed that we've entered into partnership with STV, the region's biggest VC firm in the region, where we participated in the AI fund, the $100 million
Mhm.
AI fund. And that is Google's first partnership when it comes to investing into startups into the AI area in the region. But if you look at also at the wider situation for this, uh, indirectly, we have a lot of startup programs that have been giving resources to those startups in the region. Like if you are a startup that is funded in the region, you have access to almost $300,000 of Google Cloud credit, right? So while that is not the direct money investment in this is in-kind investment that you can actually take in without giving equity back, right? So we've been investing in the region much more than just the 100 million AI fund by STV for the past 10 years.
Are you personally an investor at all? Out of curiosity.
As Najeeb,
Yes.
yes, I've been active in the startup ecosystem for the past 20 years. It's something that I am very, very passionate about. I try to back founders that are solving interesting problems and they're coming in for the users in the Middle East and in North Africa specifically. I'm very excited about the potential, and like every year, my number of checks that I write has been increasing, and that's a signal towards like the amount of innovation, the amount of also culturally we're accepting this as a way of people thinking about what do they want to do next in their life as well. rather than like corporate type of jobs
Yes, exactly. More risk.
or risks. Yes. And it's also a good testament towards like more ability, more appetite in the region to do risks as well. Uh, I
Of
am
course.
more on the angel investment, so I come in at the
Hmm.
seed
Hmm.
period of those startups as well. I've invested
Hmm.
in closer to 50 startups in the last 12 years.
Okay. 50 in 12 years. And maybe what are some investments you passed on that today you were like, "Oh, I should have."
Oh, many. Uh,
Many, I'm sure.
yes. And like a lot of that is, it's very hard for you to uh, see the future, right? So it becomes like to the are the people that are presenting the pitch. Do you believe in the founders? Are you willing to go with the long run of them pivoting different types of this? Do you see the immediate opportunity? And more importantly, as Najeeb, is there a value that I could provide beyond just writing the check, right? And
Of course.
answering this question is very difficult because like it also makes me pass on areas within the industry that I am not very familiar with, right? I am not as
Of
well
course.
versed in the start. Fintech applications as one of those that we've seen a huge rise for the fintech in the region. I am not the most well versed when it comes to financial services, so I passed on a few of those amazing startups that are doing amazing today.
You feel like sometimes when you invest in a startup where you're not versed in it, it's just a way for you to keep tabs on a certain category that, you're like, I don't even, I don't know much about it, but really feel like this is a good startup where the team is great. And through them, I'm going to get educated on the industry.
Um, Not for me. I try to stay within the area that I am very familiar with as well. Like I want to be able to like go to an investment to some place where I'm just not only writing a check, I am able to also help advise the founders or help unblock some of the things that the founders might face as well, whether that was of like knowledge in the sectors or the field, etc. I feel if the only thing I'm providing is writing the check, I'm not providing the right value compared to that as well. And that's where I stay focused on my area of expertise.
Okay. And if you had, let's say this is a question, if you had $1 million, your last $1 million to invest, and this was going to be the last of your career, I watched the movie Hail Mary yesterday. The Hail Mary of
Amazing movie.
investments.
Yes.
Yes, the Hail Mary of investments. Where would you put that $1 million? Feel free to divide it if you want. In what space? If you have a kind of if you know certain niches, what would they be?
Here in the region.
Yes, why not?
So here in the region, I would put it in startups that are focused on helping enterprises move towards AI workloads. Right? I think this is going to be a gold mine for in the next 2 years of like, how do we identify problems that AI could solve? How do we build MCPs or skills that we're able to like give to those companies to be able to offload some of those works towards AI? This is, I think, gold mines when you think about like the number of companies that are in the region that are today starting to move to the cloud. So you have an opportunity not only to migrate them to a cloud, but to a more technical field, but also to help them with AI. I think there is a very big gap in the region around this to start with as well. Globally, I think the health sector is very interesting right now. I think AI is bringing down the cost if you're doing a lot of this research. I'm sure you're hearing a lot about like the amazing early results that we're getting from peptides across the industry. I think peptides are going to be a very interesting field of study, and it requires large capital to go into the health sector as a start, and there's a lot of regulations that govern this. But the time to research is being cut significantly with the help of AI. I think this is an area that will be interesting to find.
A bit on the investing in the AI adoption companies. Were you talking about companies that provide this as a service to other companies? Like, so they would come in, they have a team, and they'll provide it, or is this like a? a tool, a technology?
A tool or a technology, right? So think about this, for example. Uh, and I am a company that has a very specific I deal with a lot of customer services, right? Like I am airline, I am hotel, like some sort of a lot of customer services, right? How can I get a lot of the signals that are coming back and like be able to automate them to like tasks every day? So rather than the engineers wakes up in the morning, there is 5 or 6 tasks they need to fix based on like all of the signals that are coming in from a lot of the calls, comments, online, all of this type of situations. That's one example. It can be even in the creative industry, right? All of those SMB services that want to create assets for their products to go into Instagram, to go into this type of situations. A lot of value of like how can you make it easier for them to be able to like create and automate a lot of that workflow that is not just for the business but also for like the agencies, right? um, Shooting ads in the region is a very big business, right? Like even when you talk about like TV ads or TV quality ads that are being produced as well, a lot of it can be done interestingly with AI today, and that we still don't have the right level of like quality of like backroom type of AI production in the region. So there's a lot of those services that are still coming in out. You genuinely understand, okay, what is the pain point that enterprises are having and what can I build a service that helps them automate it faster? I'm not talking about like building a company to be a consultant. You go understand and solve for one specific company, just understanding pain point across multiple company and provide your service to address that pain point.
And since, seeing everything where it's going, where do you see things going in 10, 15 years? Maybe you have an insight that makes you a bit more aware of what's going on than everybody else. What's something that you see that you can, in 10 years, where are things going?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't think anyone would be able to like answer the specific questions. I would just talking to a few colleagues about this today. And today, Twitter or X is celebrating 20 years anniversary, right? I joined
Mhm.
Twitter, now known as X, 19 years ago, right? 2007, July 2007. Technology looked very, very different than what it is today, right? Like I even think about like my work habits in 2007, 2008, and what are they, how different they are today. Just think about the switch towards everything happening in browser, right? And that was not the case after 2011, 2012, right? Like desktop app were still very prominent doing all of this. If you go back in time and you tell someone 2010, you can do photo editing professionally on the cloud without opening
Mhm.
a desktop app, this will not be possible today, right? So if we are thinking about this to some degree, in the last 2 years, the level of automation that AI has managed to bring in changed completely what we thought about in 2022. And I'll give you a big example of this as well. Um, when I got married 11 years ago, me and my wife, we had a folder where we like upload the like, not like a cloud folder, like a folder on our like computer at home, right? Where we scan and put like receipts for stuff, invoices for taxations, all of this, warranties for things that we bought in because we didn't want the paper, so like everything scanned into it. At the beginning, everything was organized. Everything was the right naming format. Everything was like in its own folder. During 11 years, it became a big mess. There's a large folder called download in it, has a bunch of things coming into this, and you have no
You don't
idea
know
what's
what's in
ever,
it.
nothing, right? In the last 2 months, I brought in AI and I gave it access to that actual folder and I told them what I wanted to be. It read 11 years of everything, random invoices, doctor notes, warranties, renamed the files. Some of them are in Arabic, some of them are in English, some of them are in French. Renamed the files, organized them in the folders. Everything happened to it. It's amazing. This is something I was like dreaming about. You know, maybe during the summer I can ask my nephew to do it and I'll pay them by hour to go and do this. This was done in like less than a day. And this is not something you could have told me 2 years ago I would be able to do it today. So uh, I don't think someone could sit and tell you like 15 years the technology will look this way. It's just like it's the acceleration pace of technology is very interesting, and I think I'm very fortunate that I am in this moment and in a company where I'm seeing this happening firsthand.
Right, you're seeing it at the very forefront, right? The best thing is that we're in it and we're all adapting to it. Maybe just a final question. I'm a bit curious about you, Najib. What's a typical Saturday for you on the weekend? What do you do?
Uh, Typical Saturday. Um, See family on Saturday. That's something you want to do as well. Catch up on YouTube subscriptions, like what is interesting from creators that I follow as well. I can send you a
Okay.
picture of my like my work desk, which is my project for the last like 3 months as well. I'm trying to build the PC I had in 1999 or early 2000,
Passion
right?
project?
Yes. So getting like period accurate parts, putting
Okay.
them all together, and then putting all of this in a very, very small case. And
Okay.
this is, yeah, yeah.
Buying different
Uh,
parts from eBay, collectors.
100%. Yeah. So like I think if you look at that, it's morely about like spending time with family as one part. And then the second part is around catching up on things that I want to learn about or I am curious about when it comes, which is on YouTube. And then third, I try to do things with my own hands, right? Like um we end up spending a lot of time in spreadsheets and slides and emails. I see a lot of value when I do things with my own hand, and that's where my setup becomes in as well. Like I am extremely happy when I managed to like basically change a capacitor on a motherboard, right? 3 weeks ago, I had a MOSFET on a motherboard that burned out, and like I spent 2 weeks basically tracking out the short and figuring out how to bypass it and getting another donor to like install it, and like you feel a sense of achievement coming out of this.
Of course,
Uh,
it's the
but
IKEA
the
effect.
it is. It's exactly the key effect. Yeah. So this is what a typical Saturday looks like.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for being on the podcast, Najib. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time. It took a bit of time to kind of, get you here, but I'm happy we finally made it happen. Where can people find you?
I'm very grateful, Ramzi, for having. You can find me on com/in/njarrar, or you can email me directly. It's najib@google.com, najeb@google.com.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. See you.